What's happening, everyone? Today you are going to be observing me play Hollow Knight whilst I talk about things that are inappropriate. Seriously though, if you got little kids or if there are children in the home, I might say curse words every now and then. It's something I'm working on, but be warned. Maybe you shouldn't have a couple of 5-year-olds in the room listening while I'm talking about what I'm talking about, which is I am actually really impressed with the Mormon Church. I got to tell you, the G Mafia, man, is nothing to F with. And Mormon Church delivers stinging rebuke to BYU students with letter stating homosexual behavior is, quote unquote, not compatible with its principles. Just 2 weeks ago, LGBTQ students at Brigham Young University were cheering after the school deleted a section in its honor code that banned, quote unquote, homosexual behavior. But on Wednesday, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints poured cold water on their celebrations after it clarified that same-sex romantic behavior is still not compatible with BYU's principles. The announcement came in a letter penned by Elder Paul V. Johnson, the commissioner of the church's educational system. It was sent to all the students and employees at Mormon-owned schools. According to BYU, which tweeted out the letter, the moral standards of the church did not change with the recent release of the General Handbook or the updated honor code. Same-sex behavior cannot lead to eternal marriage and is therefore not compatible with the principles included in the honor code. I don't really care. The Mormon Church can do whatever it wants to do. I think it's interesting that they've adapted several of their codes for these things. I guess what I was going to say is it's interesting to see. Caffeine for the longest time was taboo to the Mormon people. Black people were kind of taboo for a while. I'm not saying they're racist. I don't care. I'm just stating that historically that's, kind of been something that went along with it. And I know that that's changed over the years. That's for the better. I don't know that this would be. You've got to, again, it says they give their stance on it. And I think that takes a lot of, cojones. You gotta have them, right? You gotta have the brass to back that up. And that takes some doing. Look at this. These things are oh gosh, they just keep going in the damn steam, man. It's such a tough gig, this game, man. I'll tell you what, if you've never played this game, I'm not trying to segue away from the gay thing here, the LGBTQ issue. But this game is tough, bro. The mechanics of the controls are really well made, but you really have to be on your game. You can't, there's parts where you got to have your thumbs like ready to bop, bop, bop. You got to jujitsu the hell out of that controller. But the code had previously prohibited all forms of physical intimacy that gives expression to homosexual feelings. If same-sex couples were seen hugging, holding hands, kissing, or dating in public, they'd risk an investigation by the feared Honor Code Office, as well as punishment at their church or expulsion from school. Students had long protested the code's homosexual behavior policy, so when it was deleted last month, they claimed it as a victory. Francesca Lopez said she felt, quote-unquote, free and cared for by the university for the first time in a long time last month. She celebrated the deleted policy with her first gay kiss. I don't understand. See, this is what interests me. I was going to say the retard levels of exaggeration, just because this happened. And yet she had her first gay kiss as a result of this honor code being what she perceived as adapted, was changed. But it's like, wait a minute, is this a issue central to your identity? Because, that's the homosexual thing, is like it's central to your identity as a person. And it's you were born that way, right? And that's what we were all told is that you were born that way. Now it's not so important, right? It's just a sexual preference. It flows is what I'm saying. I know people are going to say, oh man, so you hate gays. No, I don't care. I'm just saying that I think it's cool to see this institution that has its own religious ideology standing up for itself to a group of people that have been very, very difficult to handle for many people that have decided to speak out in the most mundane ways, let alone something as bold as this. I guarantee you they're going to catch flack for this. But it's on to the next one. So, musician Grimes confirms she's pregnant with Elon Musk's child. I know, who gives a shit, right? No, the part that I care about, this is an article from ndtv.com. And this is, the quote, man, It's hilarious to me. It's almost like war, man. Wow. And now my famous ping pong ball trick. That's what this made me think of when I read it. In an interview with Rolling Stone, she said Elon Musk is the father of her child. That's this Claire Boucher, whatever, better known for her stage name Grimes, has confirmed she is carrying his child expected in May. For a girl, it's a sacrifice. It's sacrificing your body and your freedom. Yeah, no shit. It's a pretty crazy sacrifice, and only half of the population has to do it. Right. The rest of them have what? Penises. Here's what I'm going to say. Ooh, this person said it, and they're going to give her hell because there's not just two genders, man. Only 50% of the population, she says, has to go through this. People, I guarantee there's people out there right now that are in the gay community or the transgender, like, no, mams can have babies too. It's just, oh my God, dude. Like I said, the retard levels of exaggeration. It's just going off about it. Check this out. This is a tough spot. These spikes, as you've probably seen me fail like 1,000 times. I'm trying to get it right, dude. I'm trying to get this. And so I'm like trying to nudge myself and not just die. And then I finally figured it out that if I, instead of sliding down that wall, if I just jumped like a smart guy. Ooh, see, I got nuked there. Yeah, I'll get it. Don't worry. But it's taken me forever. Like I've played that part of the map like a dozen times. According to the 31-year-old, it has been, quote unquote, been a really profound decision for her. No shit, dude. No shit. That's why, when people say that men hate women, it's another retard level of exaggeration. It's like, dude, nobody doesn't think that having a kid is difficult on the body. No one is that stupid. Those that are just, they have to be 1 in a million. That has to be such an infinitesimally small, sliver of the population that there's no way to justify acting like it's every guy on the planet. Just like all the statistics about domestic abuse, I call bullshit. Come on. I think a lot of that is exaggerative. I know girls. I've been the victim of domestic violence from a female before. And I mean, I've never like, oh my God, it's domestic violence. I'm just saying, like, I've had girls punch me, kick me, throw things around the house. And they like literally had to have people called to like not end up where they went to the hospital, where it's like, hey, this person's holding a knife. They're going to get the shit smacked out of them. Come get them before they get put down, like a bad dog. And I wouldn't call for domestic violence on that. I would just simply say like, hey, come get them, and have them removed. But the perception is that men are the only ones, or at least predominantly whenever you see a movie. I mean, when was the last time you really saw a movie that showed a woman like laying haymakers on a dude and like hitting him in the kidneys and him just taking it like a champ because he's a dude, right? And he doesn't want to just lay the holy hand of, Antioch on her face, right? And, run the risk of getting put in prison for that. And don't say it doesn't happen. I've seen that personally. I've watched that happen. I've shared a story on here before about a young black guy that I watched. They ruined his life at a Las Vegas casino that I was working at. They wrecked this kid's life, and they attempted to do more, but they effed it up pretty good. Anyway, I'm just like, I have sacrificed my power in this moment. I have like capitulated, and I have spent my whole life avoiding that situation. I have never capitulated to anything. So it's just a profound commitment, she said. No shit, it's a kid. The pair have been dating since 2018. This will be her first child. Elon Musk has 5 sons with his first wife, Justine. Yeah, man, that's awesome. I do actually just really love my boyfriend, said Miss Grimes. Okay, that's cool. She's 25 weeks pregnant. I feel like I was woefully ill prepared because I don't know if pregnancy is as visible or discussed as it should be. It's been good too, but it makes working a lot harder. Dude, like, okay, big ups to you having a baby. That's awesome, and a bunch of the guys that I trained jiu-jitsu with, their wives. One guy in particular, his wife is expecting pretty soon here. Does anybody really believe that having a kid is easy? Like, who has that mindset? Who has that 1800s, like, or whatever the hell, time period we're thinking about? Who has that mindset? I don't know anyone. I cannot imagine anyone having that mindset. They're like, well, all she's doing is having a kid. I mean, get back to work already. Get back in the kitchen. Dude, nobody thinks that. Stop it. I don't know a guy that doesn't dote on his wife, when she's, pregnant. I don't know anybody like that. That's stupid. Dumb, right? That makes for a poor alpha male, I'll tell you that. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting because of the kind of like phrasing. Again, it's the retard levels of like, men don't appreciate women. Like, really? Really? That's why we're celebrating. That's why we put you in this. Somebody put you in this article is because it's an impressive thing. Having a kid is an impressive thing. That's why we shouldn't denigrate the role of the woman in society. That's why we shouldn't be so like, oh, get your career for women. You know, if they want to have babies, we should get the fuck out of their way and let them do it, dude. That's why we have a population deficit in spite of what you've been told. There's another retard level of exaggeration. There's too many people on the planet, man. No, you're dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. There are manuscripts that show that in the European nations that we know of today and in African nations that we have long since forgotten, there were populations that were 9 times as dense as New York City. 9 times. That's not an exaggeration. Look it up. You can look it up. There are numbers on that were, logged by Franciscan monks, baby. When they discovered the manuscripts, they could speak the language, Greek, Aramaic, and Latin that were on these pages, and they translated it. And it's fairly easy to see that the populations of today are maybe not the most we've ever had. We're maybe not even the most advanced that we've ever been. I mean, is there evidence they had computers? No, but there's evidence that maybe they had microchips or something similar and magnetism at a level that we don't understand. I'm just saying, retard levels of exaggeration that we have in modern society is that everything's the best it's ever been, and you don't appreciate women enough, and if we're going to advance, we got to get, you men on board. Like, really? I don't know a single guy, not a single one that's not on board with women, with women having babies, being happy with their lives. If they want to feel fulfilled, that's great. They want to have a career, do that too, okay? You can go ahead and do that. I thought it was interesting because it's like it almost had never occurred to this young person here that being pregnant was going to be a tremendous sacrifice. Another tremendous level of, and I'm tired of talking about it, so I'm going to do it very fast. Just a tremendous level of over-exaggeration is this California declaring emergency as coronavirus kills 11 in the United States of 328 million people. Let's just call it 330, okay? 11 people have died from this virus. I think we can stop fucking calling it a pandemic, okay? I might believe that. I might not, though. I might leave that in there. I am so sick of hearing this, and this is exactly what's wrong with our civilization. This is exactly what's wrong with the United States. The media has entirely too much, like, let's just say some stuff. They just say whatever, and it's like people go, oh, it's a pandemic, they said so. And you're like, oh my God, dude, come on, seriously? 11 people, guys. 11 of the entire population. Of the entire population of the United States, 11 people have died. Now, if it was like 11,000, I'd be like, oh shit, that's a big number. 11,000, man. It's, 3.5 times as many that died in 9/11. It's terrible. That's a tragedy, right? Okay. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about 11 people. And the stats show that those 11 people, their immune systems were compromised, guys. Come on, dude. Come on, man. Their immune systems were compromised. Come on, stop it. Stop it. We can stop with this. And like I said, retard levels of exaggeration. I'm going to keep saying retard. Ben Carson was forced to face off in a house and urban, because, he's the Housing and Urban Development Secretary. He got into this, little scuttlebutt battle with freaking this Democratic lawmaker who pressed him on his position on access to homeless shelters for transgender people. And basically, he was kind of being accused, of like allowing for discriminatory treatment. And, this guy Quigley says, so what you're saying is that if someone doesn't like someone else in that shelter for whatever reasons, that you can allow discrimination against those people because they had a women's section and a men's section, right? And he's like, no, what I'm saying is we have to take everybody's feelings into consideration. You can't just select a group and say that their feelings trump everyone else's groups. And I think that's exactly what this is about today, is more just, again, retard levels of exaggeration. This guy instantly went on the attack. I'm noticing a lot of that. I don't get it. I don't know what happened with the male population, but it's almost like they're all too happy to see and trip up other people. I call that the Satan, you know. For me, I prefer the kind of the Jewish traditional definition of what Satan is, which is a more of a spiritual alignment, you know, the need or the tendency to try to trip other people up. Dude, this is such a hard part in this game right here. Such a hard part. So annoying. And like, it seems like it's simple, but sometimes the controls, like when you hit the button, it doesn't go right away. You have to like make sure. And if you commit to the jump at that little spot, you fall in the pool and then you're done, right? You just finished your little skill guy. He's actually supposed to be a squid. And they talk several times about the your little tendrils there. So you're like a cuttlefish. Oh, you want the cuttlefish? Yeah, there. Finally, I made it, dude. I celebrated that so bad. And then, of course, my shadow self tries to wipe me out. Fucking a-hole. But, you know, I think that Ben Carson did an awesome job. I went back and watched this. And I think it's messed up that people are being put on the defensive all the time for these things, dude. It's all the time. You say something about women. Oh, you don't like women? Like, no, dude. We're not saying we don't like women. We're simply saying that women... what I am saying is that, you know, the freaking, what's his name? Jenner, that's not a woman. That's a dude. That's a dude. I'm sorry. That's a guy. And anyone out there that's saying, oh, well, you're a homophobe or transphobe. No, I'm anti people that murder people and then use transgender issues to cover their tracks. That's what happened with that guy. Come on. Stop it. Don't kid yourselves. Come on. It was an obvious ploy. So come on, dude. You know, I'm impressed by Ben Carson. I'm impressed by the Mormon church standing their ground, and I don't have to 100% agree with what they're saying. And again, this is the other thing about our society, you know, dude, we've got to learn to just, some people are not going to agree with you. And that doesn't mean you get to put your hands on them, man. They're not going to agree with you. They may not think that you have the right to do what you think you should be able to do. And at some point, you're going to have to decide, like, oh, well, is it really going to jail over? And that's what should happen, by the way. That there was a video of a guy that he does like a spinning heel kick, and he kicks this phone. He attempts to kick a phone out of a woman's hand because he doesn't like what she's saying, but he kicked the shit out of her. I mean, he kicked her right in the head. And yeah, he ended up paying a fine, but it was like way under. I mean, she's kind of an older woman. Boom! That was tough. Yeah, I hit that little bird and just realized I had screwed up. This is when J. Michael realized he'd effed up. This game's challenging, bro, and you gotta like time it right, and you gotta each character, each of the enemies has like their own rhythm, so you kind of have to get used to that you know, how they move and what their timing is. And a lot of times, like, because I'm using a mouse and the keyboard rather than a controller, my fingers, like the mouse I have is not like a pro gaming mouse because I really don't use my computer for this. I just write articles and talk on here really. That's actually a pretty fast little computer though, but anyway, sorry. So another level of just freak out level of retardation here. A world without handshakes is a vision of real intimacy. Adrian, I think it's Chiles. Or is it Childs? I don't know. Chiles. I'm saying Chiles because, you know, it's the country. So basically, as rituals, this is an article from The Guardian. As rituals change to avoid the spread of coronavirus, it's time to look into people's souls instead. And why do I think this is a retard level of overreaction? Is because the coronavirus, guys, it's not real. 11 people in the entire United States, so I need to keep saying that, 11 people in the entire United States died because of this, okay? And they have immunocompromised. They were immunocompromised, okay? Meaning they were older or weaker in some fashion, okay? Basically, this article, I'm going to link to it in the description. It talks about the fact that during Mass, they didn't do the whole putting the wafer in the mouth thing. Dumb, because again, 11 people. And, you know, I'll just summarize it. At the end, he talks about how there's usually this kind of, you turn to your the person next to you and say, peace be with you, And before I was Catholic, this bit astounded me. I would go along to Mass with one or more of my beery, football-y college mates, and then suddenly we would be wishing each other peace, which wasn't the kind of thing we ever wished each other in the general run of things. Nice. It has always been a highlight of Mass for me, and not only because it is a sign that you are nearer to the end of Mass than the beginning. I live it for its simplicity. Who of whatever faith or none could possibly object to having peace wished upon them? And so the moment came for this unfamiliar, no-touching sign of peace. I assumed it would lack something, but curiously the opposite was true. For me, it actually felt more sincere without the handshake. Less was more. There are two components to the standard sign of peace, the handshake and the words, but the key bit is the eye contact. Okay. So this guy is saying that he thinks that this ritual was fine without the eye contact, and that's great. That's fine. I object because I think that it's dumb to edit a tradition like that because of something that's spurious, as in not genuine, like a cubic zirconia. Okay, it's bullshit. It's not real, and the disease that we're talking about, this virus, is garbage. I've said it 1,000 times. I swear I'm going to stop talking about it, but I feel like if I don't, every time that they say it, if I don't just turn and just smash somebody like one of them whack-a-mole games where you're just like, oh, you pop your head up and you just got to bang the shit out of it. I think that's it's not a good thing, man. We can't let these people keep spreading this nonsense, because they are. Like, dude, they're selling it. My parents, I was talking to him. My dad's like, oh, I saw on the news that they got the coronavirus and it's up here in Seattle. And it's like, come on, dude. It's 11 people. Because I'm really on top of this stuff. I got one of them. I got an RSS feed aggregator, and it's freaking awesome. So when I want to get my news, I just open that and start reading articles. And I have like 55 sources on there. But all over the world, the theme is that this thing is out of control. Everyone's going to die. And it's just not. It's not. I'm getting to a pretty cool part in the game here. And, okay, so I've been looking for this guy that will update my sword, and they call it the nail. And, I failed miserably, but I just wasn't far enough into the game, but it's tough, bro. Like, little segments of the game have been tough to get through. Like, I think if I had the controller hooked up, it'd be a lot easier, but I'm like I said, I'm being lazy and didn't want to get it out of the box and dig through a bunch of old packed up stuff to get it. Cause this office space is pretty new, but yeah, this guy's like a smith. That's pretty sweet. Cool. Some of these games are super like in depth. I like how like the storybook, it reminded me of when I saw the artwork, it reminded me of Shining in the Darkness, which was an old Sega Genesis RPG. So I had to play it, but it's way different than that game. So another CNN article, family films had as many women in lead roles as men for the first time, new study finds. And it's by Sandra Gonzalez for CNN. I liked this article. I thought this was interesting. Last year was a historic one for gender representation in family films, according to a new study from the Gina Davis Institute. Yep, that Gina Davis. On gender and media, 2019 saw just as many female lead characters in family films as male lead characters. In 2007, just 24% of family films featured female characters in lead roles. Last year, 48% of the 100 top grossing family movies featured lead female characters. For the purposes of the annual C. Jane report, a family film was defined as any live action or animated film that was rated G, PG, or PG-13. Okay. And media images have a huge impact on how we see ourselves and judge our value, Davis told CNN via email. When you see someone like yourself reflected, you take in the image. There's someone like me, I must belong. This is why it's vital for children to see from the beginning fictitious worlds that reflect the real world, which is half female and very diverse. Couldn't agree more. This historic parody, she added, means girls will be far more likely to see that they are just as important as boys and that they do have half of the interesting, important things. Boys will take this message in unconsciously too, and thus be more likely to see girls as equals, she said. For this year's report, researchers also examined 5 other areas: race, LGBTQ+, disability, age 60+, and body size diversity. Among those so-called identity groups, there were some improvements. So basically, they go on to tell you the percentages and how it's done better and for those groups. But the key message I was really like interested in, and when I read it, I was like, oh, okay, I actually really agree with this part. That first part about the LGBTQ thing, and okay, But sexualization and age continue to be major variables that need progress. Our study shows that female characters are 6 times more likely to be in sexually revealing clothing, a statistic that has been very consistent over decades of research. I couldn't agree more. She said, we see the same glacial movement when it comes to age, with most female characters being under 40 and little to no females at 50 or over, yet male characters are plentiful at being depicted in their 40s and older. Other findings are similarly striking, like the fact that 8.3% of characters are of what the study calls large body type, and portrayals often reinforce damaging stereotypes. Of those portrayals, they say like 7.5. Again, not a massive statistic, not something you're like, oh my God, 100% of these fat people in the movies are being represented as being stupid. That's they're saying right there. That's not the case. But I liked that part about the sexualization because it's been something that I've noticed even as a kid when I was seeing when Christina Aguilera was first coming out and Britney Spears was first coming out. Dude, I was in high school when that was going on, and it was clear as day that it was like sexualizing these young girls like a hentai. I'm sorry, man. Like a lot of anime, a lot of Japanese cartoons are very like, it's not nudity, but it's just about as far as you're going to get without it being nudity. Like, you know, there's a lot of suggestive sounds, a lot of, stuff and like, so it's clearly like they're kind of insinuating like a sexual content and like Archie comic books, I do think that women in a lot of these films are sexualized, but I also think it's part of the mystique of Hollywood because clearly we're seeing that what's not been a retard level of overreaction is the amount of shit that we're allowing these people to get away with as far as touching kids, man. Hollywood's got a proclivity for young people, eating them essentially, and I mean that like in not a literal way, like they physically eat them. They might, I don't know, but I damn sure tell you they're having sex parties and the whole underage thing is prevalent as hell because we're seeing the stats. Hello, Kevin Spacey. Hello, Weinstein. It's one of those situations where you're kind of just like, dude, do you guys only fuck kids or what's the deal? I'm sorry. At the end of this article, she says, there's still much work to be done, but we are so encouraged by the progress being made. She hopes to see increases in the number of leads from underrepresented segments of society and continued improvement in the quality of depictions. I agree with that. Creating more diverse characters means being more relevant to a larger segment of the population. That makes your project literally more colorful, she said. Okay, I'm going to take the next 10 minutes and just talk about this last part because I like this part of the game that I've been playing, and it's tough, so I'm trying to get the money for that sword. So he'll improve my nail. Okay, so basically, the movie The Goonies is my example for this because she says creating more diverse characters means being more relevant to a larger segment of the population. Okay, so Data. There's a character in the movie Goonies, the little Asian kid. He's kick-ass, okay? I love that character ever since I was a kid. I wanted to be that kid because he, maybe not Asian, but I'm just saying like, because even if I wanted to, it wouldn't be possible, right? But the fact of the matter is that kid, they gave him kind of he had a really thick Southeast Asian accent, and I don't think that character was stereotypical. I don't think it was denigrating. I don't think it lowered that kid as an Asian just because his accent was there and was something that was part of the character any more than I think Pat Morita's depiction of Mr. Miyagi would have been considered denigrating or lowering of or seeing Asians or Japanese people in a negative light in any way. So I don't know if that would fall into her depiction of diverse characters, but what I'm seeing, rather than creating these interesting new characters that are part of new stories, what we're doing is adapting stories that are already powerful and using that already built up power to promote an ideology that a lot of people are not behind. And the reason that we know they're not behind it is because the numbers don't support it. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm against it. That doesn't mean that people are against, LGBTQ issues. But I think what it might say is that maybe you're trying too hard. I think that's what happened with the Ghostbusters and with Ocean's 8. I thought Ocean's 8 was actually a decent film. The plot was funny. Although it was kind of the same, but it had its own variants. I think Sandra Bullock did a good job. I thought that character was cool. I think Rihanna, like, I was surprised by that. Her character was fun and like clever. There was clever little lines throughout the film, and I thought in general it was a smart and kind of witty and kind of fun and clever film, right? But what I didn't like, and the reason I didn't see it in theaters, was because it was promoted as, oh, it's like, taking down the patriarchy, that whole deal. And it really got on my damn nerves, man. I'm tired of hearing it. And that's the reason I still, to this day, did not see in theater the second or the latest Ghostbusters film. I watched it and it was in pieces and I kept falling asleep. And it was, to be honest, it was boring. It was boring because it was over scripted. It was a lot of exposition, which is common nowadays in like the comedy. That's the other thing too, is like, people they want to hear this, but like the female comedians that are out there, a lot of it is like, it's over the top type crude humor in a lot of cases. And it's like, that's cool. Like, that's cool. Like, do your thing. Like I say, I curse and stuff. But I think that a lot of what's happening is that we're not asking anything of the story writer. You're simply saying, well, it's got women in it, you got to like it. And if you don't like it, it's because there's women in it. And it's like, no, I don't like it because the story's stupid. Okay. We don't like it because the story's dumb. You didn't add anything new to that universe. If you'd have taken the Ghostbusters and said, well, one of these women is the daughter of Sigourney Weaver's character and freaking Bill Murray, right? And that's how they end up linking up. And these other two people are her friends from college or what are high school friends or whatever it is, dude. Or they got their own research institute or something, man. And you could have tied it in and made it sort of an homage. You know how better off that would have played with the general populace? You know how much better the movie would have been if you'd have gone that route with it? If you had just made the movie so it wasn't kind of like we're making a Ghostbusters movie, because that's kind of how it came off to me. We're making a Ghostbusters movie. It's going to have all women in it. And if you don't like it, you're a misogynist. No, you made a shitty movie and now you're getting mad at us. Okay. Retard level of overreaction. Retard level of just being dumb and not knowing how to pull something off. Okay. It's the same thing with making a movie, from a comic book that's loved by millions of people, right? You make a movie about Venom, and then you make him say, what was it? Symbiote in the theater. And then they edited it and changed it for the DVD so it said symbiote. It's like, oh my gosh, bro. Like, if you're going to commit, just commit. Like, I would have respected it a lot more if you'd have just kept it the same. That's the beauty of the internet, bro, is like, I think it's cool to agree. Again, I agree with Gina Davis and her institute and the other people cited in this article on several points. I think that, yeah, we sexualize girls way too young. I think we sexualize boys way too young too, though, man. Like, I think the whole thing, like, people think that it's the dream of any male child to be like molested by his fucking teacher. Like, that's kind of a messed up thought process, bro. I think maybe we need to wait a little longer for that to, for that to be a thing. Maybe that's why we have, I smoked myself there, didn't I? Maybe that's why we have so many people that are just incapable of raising kids, is because we do it at such a young age. Or again, maybe like I've said a million times before, maybe we changed the tax system and made it so it wasn't so punitive, made it so it wasn't, something that we had to fight to live even the most basic of lives, or at least a standard of living that we would consider acceptable in the United States or any developed nation. I just want to leave you with this. Recently there was a young 16-year-old kid, and I'm only going to give it this short amount of time because I found myself every time I went to record this earlier today getting upset and yelling into the microphone that people need to wake up. Look, this kid was killed because he was defending another child. at his school. There was a bully that was picking on a kid, and he intervened. The kid that was being the bully comes back to the school a couple days later. They've had some, the initial defending of that other kid, of the kid being picked on, had caused some static to linger between these two guys. And so the initial aggressor returns to the school with a firearm and kills this kid. Before we even get started, it's not the gun. It's a mindset. It's cultural, man. I don't know what's going on with the way we're raising kids, but I do want to note, and it's important to be noted, that there is no mention of this young man's race in the article, which means to me that he's of a minority group. Am I saying, oh, it's got to be because it's a shooting? No, but if it was a young white kid that was shooting up the school, that would have been in the news. And to me, that's a dishonest way to do your reporting. And that's another retard level of exaggeration, is that you're saying there's all this racism in society and we've got to get rid of all this racism. Well, great. Then treat everyone equal. You start acting the fool in society, we don't care what race you are. You're going to get smacked. You're going to get your ass spanked. You're going to go to prison. And if your population, the group that you're a part of, that you claim, the set that you're repping, if there's some sort of a strange proclivity for your group to end up in prison more often than seems justified by the amount of people that you make up in the population, 13%, committing more than 54% of the murders, there might be something going on there. Maybe we need to change the music that we're raising people on. We're talking about in this earlier in this discussion, we were talking about how the images that we're exposed to, how that impacts people. Well, if we're going to expose these kids all this violence and all this horrible world star, maybe we need to start having conversations about that stuff, right? And that's every single race. I see it. It's not. So I'm not picking on black people and saying all this. I'm saying everyone that indoctrinates themselves with that culture is to blame. Everyone that allows that to become part of their lexicon, everyone that puts that into their zeitgeist, it's like you take these ideas and you put them in your hat, or you put them on your back and you wear them like a backpack, right? You carry it around with you. Anyone that's doing that with that kind of I got my pistol point cocked, ready to link shots nonstop until I see your monkey ass drop. Anything like that that's going on in your mind is not good. That's all spurious. It's not real, guys. Those are all personas. Those people weren't living that lifestyle, and if they were dumb, okay? So when you're seeing that kind of stuff and your kids are involved in like that world star nonsense, you got to learn how to throw them hands, son. No, that's dumb. Yes, learn how to defend yourself, but don't be a savage at your school. Don't get me wrong, stand your ground, but don't be a jackass. Look, I love you all. Thanks for tuning in. This is my first little video production here, and so I'm just kind of messing around with the Hollow Knight thing and, playing some games, and I hope you got something from it. Thanks for tuning in. I love you tons. J. Michael Morrison, jmichaelsworld.com. Bye.